Innkeepers is the new horror film by Ty West starring Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy as Claire and Luke respectively, two minimum wage hotel workers who work at a hotel called the Yankee Peddler Inn, which is a real life location apparently actually haunted. They are working there over its closing down weekend, staying overnight, and while they're working there they want to prove that the place is haunted by recording sounds and hopefully capturing some ghostly apparitions. Now, the film sets out to basically be, for me, a cross between Clerks and The Shining. Imagine Dante and Randall from Clerks worked in the Overlook Hotel, and it was directed by Stanley Kubrick. Now, while the film isn't as good as either of the films that it really emulates, it is one of the better horror movies I've seen recently. The reason being is it takes the time to build the characters and make you fall in love with them before the shit hits the fan and they're put into perilous situations. It's not often you get that with a horror movie now. For this film, there's a few minor false scares throughout the first hour or so, but nothing overly dramatic because we spend all of our time with either the two characters or Claire on her own. We see the film from Claire's perspective from beginning to end, and it really does. It is a slow burner, and it does take the time to build up the history of the hotel and the dynamic between the two characters, and also the guests. One of which is a washed-up actress, come psychic, played by Kelly McGillis. Who really is the standout performance in the film for me. She gives terrific supporting charisma almost. I found her to be very interested in this movie, and I really enjoyed her performance. But Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy really do carry the film. The film's very much on their shoulders, especially Sarah Paxton, who, as Claire, is a bubbly, if anything, over-enthusiastic friend of Luke who wants to help prove that the place is haunted and ends up getting herself in pretty dangerous and precarious situations because of it. The film itself is directed with aplomb. Ty West really takes a restrained approach, and rather than have shaky cameras and the handheld gimmick and everything we've come to expect from modern horror movies, he reverts back to what Kubrick did with The Shining, as his steady cam glides through the long corridors and through the different hotel rooms in the Yankee Peddler, and it really does, as the camera's following the characters around and gliding slowly and majestically through the hotel, it does add a sense of peril and unease. You never know what's going to be around the next corner. And stylistically, I thought this film was gorgeous to look at. Now, not to spoil the film, but there are a few scary moments. The ending is left suitably ambiguous. We don't know whether or not the hotel was haunted. As I said earlier, we see the whole thing from Claire's perspective, so we are not given all the answers and really have to draw our own conclusions at the end of the movie. It does remain suitably ambiguous, which I quite like, because I do find sometimes with modern horror films, and the example that springs to mind is The Last Exorcism, that when they reach a perfect point to end it, be it ambiguous or not, and they have a tendency to go on for an extra 10-15 minutes and completely undo what the film has been doing for the past 80 minutes. So I'm glad that Ty West resists the urge to do that, and he also resists the urge, for the most part, to litter the film with jump scares. There are a few jumps in it, but it's more about the unsettling, uneasy feeling in the hotel more than anything else. The performances are good. Sarah Paxton and Pat Healy are suitably likeable as the two leads. As I said, it does feel like a Kevin Smith script directed by Kubrick. The dialogue I actually found quite realistic. You do find sometimes in films like this that they try too hard to be relevant the way the characters speak, but I found it to be quite realistic in this. And while it didn't keep me up at night, I thought it was quite tense while I was watching it, but not overly frightening. It is quite a rewarding film. It's in the sense that you get to know and love the characters before you have to worry about them in perilous situations, and because it's the first horror movie to do that in quite a while, I have a lot of time for this film. Stylistically, it's gorgeous, as I said. It's not reinventing the wheel, it's just showing us why the wheel works so well. So for those reasons, I would recommend The Innkeepers.